Hello everyone, my name is Srafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be talking about Cyber Dragons. Pure Cyber Dragons. So I was playing Cyber Dragon Orcust on the ladder, and while I was having a tough time with the Orcust cards, they didn't show up or they were locking me. The Cyber Dragon cards were actually kicking a lot of ass. So I thought, okay, let's try and play this pure and see how it goes. I played it on stream today and I absolutely dominated. It was fantastic. So I want you guys to take a look at this deck and see how fun it is because I really enjoyed it. The skill is called Cyber Style Evolution. At the beginning of the duel, add one Cyber Emergency and one Power Bond to the bottom of your deck. In addition, the following effect can be used if you control one or more Cyber Dragons. Select one Cyber Dragon on your field, change the level to 5. So, this allows you to go into any rank 5 that you want. That can include Cyber Dragon Nova, it can include Chronomaly V Mana, and it can include Constellar Pleiades. And that is a fantastic turn 1 for Cyber Dragons. For the main deck, we have Cyber Dragon. If your opponent controls a monster, you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. This is not once per turn. You can special summon it, your opponent Pleiades is it, you can special summon it again. It's a great card and you will play it a lot. Cyber Dragon Veer. Becomes Cyber Dragon while on the field or in the graveyard. If you normal special summon Cyber Dragon, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position once per turn, and each Cyber Dragon you control gains 500 attack and defense points. It's a great card. Cyber Dragon Core, when this card is normal summon, add one Cyber spell or trap from your deck to your hand. That is not optional. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you could banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one Cyber Dragon monster from your deck. You can only use one Cyber Dragon Core effect per turn, and only once that turn. This card's name becomes Cyber Dragon while it is on the field or in the graveyard. So, if you're going first, you will draw Cybernetic Overflow. If you're going second, you will draw either Cyber Emergency or Cyber Load Fusion, whichever you need. The ability to banish itself from the graveyard to special summon a monster from your deck will definitely get you started on some good plays. Usually you'll use it to summon Natchster so that you can special summon from the graveyard and get yourself 2 monsters. So it's a good starting point for turn 1 and turn 2. Speaking of Natchster, level 1, 200 attack, 200 defense. This card's name becomes Cyber Dragon while on the field or in the graveyard. You can discard one other monster, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target one machine monster with 2100 attack or defense in your graveyard and special summon it. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except machine monsters. You can only use each effect of Cyber Dragon Natchster once per turn. So, this card is really good. It allows you to bring back your Nova and your Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. Both those effects are really good, and it allows you to easily get into some rank 5 plays. However, if you use the effect, which you don't have to do, you can just normal summon it and then special summon Veer. But if you use the effect, you are locked into machines, which means you can't play Pleiades anymore. That's why we're running V Mana. V Mana is also a good turn 1 play if you can't play Pleiades. Cyber Pharaohs, level 1 machine monster with 2100 defense points. You can special summon this card from your hand by attributing one machine monster. Once per turn during your main phase, you can fusion summon one machine type fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand and or field as fusion material. When a fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can banish this card from your graveyard to draw Power Bond. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, without Cyber Pharaohs, we don't really get any benefit off of adding Power Bond to our deck. We can draw it randomly, but Pharaohs is how we're really going to get it usually. Pharaohs is an interesting card. It can special summon itself off of Natchster, because it's 2100 defense points, which is good, but it's not treated as Cyber Dragon, so when you try and fusion summon with it, it's going to be a really awkward board, especially with only 3 spaces. Since it has to be on the field to use its effect, that means that unless you have a Cyber Dragon in your hand, the best you will usually be able to do is Twin. Twin is still pretty good, so that's why I'm playing this card. But if you want to cut this card and play some more generic removal, you're welcome to do so. I just don't like not having all the cyber monsters that I can, because I want to make sure that I have Natchster online at all times. Overload Fusion. Banish from your side of the field or your graveyard the fusion materials that are listed on a Dark Machine type fusion monster, then fusion summon that monster card from your extra deck. You can either use this to make Chimera Tech Over Dragon or Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. Rampage is really good, and Over Dragon will win you the game. So, this is a good card, and I have it at 1. You could play this at 2 if you wanted to, but I feel like 1 is probably fine. Cyber Load Fusion. This card is limited to 2. That's very sad. Fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck that lists the Cyber Dragon monster as material by shuffling the fusion materials listed onto it into the deck from among your face-up cards on the field or your face-up banish cards. But monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of the turn except that fusion summon monster. You can only activate 1 Cyber Load Fusion per turn. So you draw this off of your Cyber Dragon Core. and it's a very good card. You need to have a lot of monsters on the field to use this because your monsters aren't treated as Cyber Dragon while they are banished, only while they're in the graveyard. But still, it's a pretty good card, and you'll combine it with your Cybernetic Overflow to banish as many cards as possible so that you can summon a big Overdragon or go into maybe Cyber End. Ice Dragon's Prison, this is a good card. Banish your opponent's stuff. Definitely play this card. Compulse, another good removal card. Cybernetic Overflow. Banish Cyber Dragons with different levels from your hand face up on the field or your graveyard, then destroy an equal number of cards your opponent controls. If this card on the field is destroyed by card effect, you can add one Cyber Spell Trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So Cybernetic Overflow is really good. You can chain it in response to your opponent activating a card like MST, and then you will get both effects because it's still being destroyed even though it's resolving. And it doesn't target, which is the most important thing. You can banish cards from your graveyard, and then you destroy monsters your opponent controls, and if they don't respond to the initial activation, then they're not going to be able to respond to you destroying their cards because you don't target. So it's a great card, and your opponent will get thrown off by how it works. For the extra deck, we have Cyber End Dragon, 4,000 attack points, piercing, fantastic. Chimeritic Overdragon, 800 attack points for each fusion material used to make it, and it can attack a monster each time for the number of materials used to make it. The problem is that this card, if it gets hit by Effect Veiler, its attack points drop to 0 permanently, which is really bad, so be careful with this card. Twin, 2,800 attack points, can attack twice, usually will win you the game. Rampage. When it's fusion summoned, you can destroy spells and traps your opponent controls up to the number of materials used to make it, and once per turn you can send up to 2 light machine monsters from your deck to the graveyard. For each one, it gains an additional attack. 3 attacks at 2,100 will kill people. Barbaroid, the Ultimate Battle Machine. This has 4,000 attack and 4,000 defense. It can attack twice each battle phase. It cannot attack your opponent directly, but after damage calculation, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, negate the effects of that monster, including in the graveyard, and if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, they take 1,000 damage. So Barbaroid is a card that you can make solely off of Nova. It has its pros and cons compared to Cyber End Dragon. Cyber End Dragon will usually kill your opponent faster, but Barbaroid is more of like an emergency, I need to clear the board card, because it can attack twice with 4,000 attack points and burn your opponent for 2,000. It's good enough. Constellar Pleiades requires 2 level 5 light monsters. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can attach 1 material from this card, target 1 card on the field, and return that target to the hand. So you make this going first, you bounce your opponent's stuff, you prevent them from playing the game, and you win the game. Cyber Dragon Nova requires 2 level 5 machines. Once per turn, you can attach 1 Xyz material from this card, target 1 Cyber Dragon in your graveyard, and special summon that target. This can be the material as long as you had another Cyber Dragon in your graveyard. So for example, if you make this with the real Cyber Dragon, and you have a Cyber Dragon Natchster in your graveyard, you can declare the effect, detach the Cyber Dragon, and then target the Cyber Dragon without involving the Natchster at all. It just had to be the card that was in the graveyard for you to declare the effect. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can banish 1 Cyber Dragon from your hand or face a monster zone. This card gains 2,100 attack points until the end of the turn. That does not require any overlay units, which means that if you revive this card off of Natchster, it can still use this effect with Natchster as its cost. So that's really strong. 4,200 attack points is a lot of attack points. You will win the game off of that. And if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 machine-type fusion monster from your extra deck. This will either be Barbaroid or it will be Cyber End Dragon, and you'll just kill your opponent. Really good. Lastly, we have Chronomaly V Mana. Requires 2 level 5s once per turn. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can attach 2 materials from this card and negate the activation. This is really nice when you combine it with Cybernetic Overflow, because you are putting 2 materials in the graveyard at the same time, which means that you get the ability to banish 2 monsters to pop 2 cards. So V-Mana and Cybernetic Overflow is a very, very powerful start. And that's the deck, so let's go ahead and take a look at the replay. Alright, so we are going second against Constellars, and I know how much you guys know that sucks. So they activate Constellar Union, they're going to reveal Sombre, send 2 cards to the graveyard, and activate Star Cradle to return them both back to the hand. Normal summon Pollux, Pollux effect. Normal summon Sombre, special summon Caduceus. Activate the star chart, so Caduceus has no targets because they open literally both of their Constellar spell cards. Feels bad. Xyz into Pleiades. Draw 1. Pleiades, return the star chart, pass the turn. Okay. So we draw, we summon our Cyber Dragon Core, and we activate Cyber Dragon Veer's effect in response to that. Veer special summons itself. Cyber Dragon Core draws the Cyber Load Fusion because we're going second. We activate the Natchster effect. We discard our Cyber Dragon Veer to special summon it. Now we are locked into machines for the rest of the turn. We activate our skill. Our opponent cannot respond to us activating the skill, so as soon as they pass priority, we can go ahead and make both our monsters level 5 in the next C summon. Cyber Dragon Nova. Nova effect, detach 1 to bring back the Cyber Dragon Veer, and these effects stack, so both of our monsters are gaining 1,000 attack points. Cyber Dragon Veer attack into Sombre. Sombre is destroyed, and the opponent takes damage. We attack with our Cyber Dragon Nova, which we can then use the effect to buff our monster by 2100. Our opponent does not want that to happen, so they will activate Pleiades' effect to bounce the Cyber Dragon Nova. Nova was not sent to the graveyard, so its effect doesn't activate, but that's fine. We activate Cyber Load Fusion, and we're going to fuse our Cyber Dragon Veer and our Cyber Dragon Veer into Cyber Twin Dragon. Twin Dragon attack into Pleiades, and then attack directly, and our opponent is left at 350 life points. Their turn, they activate Star Chart, they summon the Zubin Shamali, draw the Caduceus. Caduceus special summon, and we activate Ice Dragon's Prison. We bring back the other Caduceus, banish them both, and the opponent concedes. There you go. We were able to play through a lot of disruption. We were able to, in the middle of the battle phase, set up a very powerful monster that threatened our opponent, and when our opponent tried to come back, we banished their cards and stopped them from playing. That's the power of Cyber Dragons. That's the power of a skill that gives you a rank 5 right away on turn 1. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.